Hi, welcome to Steve Chats Wrestling, hashtag SCW, the wrestling channel here on youtube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Subscribe right now, leaving the comments in the comment section, and like and share the video as well. I want your comments for this one because it's Hell in a Cell 2016, the predictions video. I don't need to give a full preview for this because really, for me, brutally honest, all these feuds need to finish. For me, they're getting stale, and if they go on even further, then it's going to be becoming very difficult to watch, even more stale, really. And the ratings are suffering on Raw as it is at the moment. So for me, we need some conclusive finishes. Although personally, I'm not convinced with a couple of these mature matches that we will see the very end of them, but hopefully we will. So there's 7 matches currently on the card. I feel that there could be Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn added as a last-minute addition. We'll have to wait and see, even as a pre-show match. If that does happen, Sami Zayn been booked very, very weakly, personally for me, but it definitely he will be fed to Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman would go over in that case if it was to happen. But going through the 7 matches very, very quickly then. Personally for me, Bayley against Dana Brooke was announced just recently. I think Bayley is going to pick up the victory in this match. Dana Brooke has kind of come across as the one that's ahead in the feud at the moment, and I think we're going to get the payoff. Bayley will get the victory on pay-per-view, because otherwise I think it's safe to say that Bayley is not understood in the main roster, and I can't see it going well going forward. So Bayley needs to pick up the victory here, so I'm going to go for Bayley. Next, looking at the Cruiserweight Championship match, TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. One of the actual feuds that has a proper story in it on Monday Night Raw at the minute. I'm not so sure about Brian Kendrick with the begging to win, but I understand that the guy is desperate. But yeah, I think that the feud has been okay with these two in a Cruiserweight division that really is sort of not standing out or not being given the opportunity to stand out on Raw. I think that's the problem with the Cruiserweights right now. They're seen as a filler moment in Raw, and it feels like the same as everything else since that first night when we saw the Fatal 4-Way, which kind of stole the show on that particular evening. They really have toned it down, WWE, and take it back to how it was, because I understand you looking after the safety of the wrestlers, but these guys are trained and know what they're doing, and when they do these moves all the time, it's kind of what you understand and what you expect in these matches. And if they're not on TV every week anyway, then they are getting the needed recover and rest as well, because when they do the live events, tone it down for those, and maybe for TV, that's when it could be a little bit more exciting. But anyway, going back onto the matter at hand, I'm expecting TJ Perkins to pick up the victory, and then he can move forward to a new challenger. As otherwise, at the moment, the Cruiserweight division might as well just be those two at the moment, because everybody else isn't really getting the same sort of look in. So TJ Perkins, and then perhaps to move on with a feud against perhaps some of the likes of maybe like a Tony Nese or even a Cedric Alexander or even Rich Swann. Moving on then, next we look at the Tag Team Championships, the New Day versus Sheamus and Cesaro. Why? We saw it on Raw already, although to be fair, we know what's going to happen. Cesaro and Sheamus picked up the victory on Raw. They're going to lose on the pay-per-view because the belts will be on the line. The New Day will become the longest reigning Tag Team Champions in history, and they will beat Demolition's record. I'm sad to say it, but that's what's going to happen. I like these old records and like them to stay, but unfortunately, I think the New Day is going to win, even though actually the belts kind of really desperately need to change hands. It's not a matter of the fact that actually that this is the greatest reign of all time. It's the longest reign, but certainly not the greatest. New Day were fantastic with the belts until about WrestleMania time this year, and that's when they needed to change. But I still see them keeping the belts, and it'll be going forward all the way until December, potentially the Roadblock pay-per-view. Anyway, moving on further from here, we'll look at Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus Enzo and Big Cass. For Enzo and Big Cass, it's kind of the exact same feud they had with the Shining Stars, except that the roles have been reversed. Instead of losing every match to the Shining Stars, to then eventually get the payout match, which didn't happen in the end as well. I didn't remember seeing that. Maybe it was on one of the minor shows that we just don't see. But then see Enzo and Big Cass kind of getting the victories over Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows on the way onto the road to the pay-per-view. Although I believe it's just Carl Anderson that's had both matches. He's lost to Enzo and Big Cass in singles matches. I like the fact that they're now kind of making a bit of more no-nonsense, no-funny, more serious Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and expect them to pick their victory on pay-per-view. I kind of think it's the same sort of booking what they're doing with Bayley, where it's kind of they're looking kind of weak on each and every Raw. But when it comes to the pay-per-view and it's showtime, I think these guys then will get the goods and they will get the victory on this pay-per-view. Enzo and Big Cass are not expected to go for the tag team titles either until around WrestleMania season next year, from the last understanding. So unless plans have changed, I expect them to lose on this particular event. Right then, well, we'll look then further at the card here, and I believe we've got just the cell matches. So let's talk about a cell match next. Let's talk about Roman Reigns versus Rusev, the first of the cell matches. I think it could be the opener of the night, and I think this is going to be possibly more interesting than their normal matches. I think this could be a bit better. So I'm kind of sort of looking forward to it, I say. I kind of believe that Roman Reigns is going to win here, but I would love to see Rusev walk away with the belt. I think that it would be better if Rusev walked away with the belt, but I think this feud needs to close, and I think that WWE are all in at the moment with Roman Reigns being in the mid-card, so I believe that Roman Reigns is going to walk away with the victory. Will not waste any time of yours talking about how bad the build-up has been, in my personal opinion. Looking then on the rest of the card here, we're going to look then, it is just the cell matches to go. We're going to look then next at the Universal Championship, which will be Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. I expect Chris Jericho to insert himself in some form or fashion in this match. How is not known. There was rumours of a special guest referee role. I'm not so sure. I would like, as a bold, hopeful prediction, I would like Jericho to accidentally cost Kevin Owens the match and get a new champion. I think that it's not working, this experiment currently for Kevin Owens as a Universal Champion. And the reasoning for this is not the fault of Kevin Owens, it's the fault of the creative team. They have taken what was good with Kevin Owens and they've taken it away since he's got the belt. It's almost as if he can't be that same person that he was before. Either that, or with the way that Chris Jericho's current gimmick is going, they're making him seem overshadowed by Chris Jericho, which of course this feud is going to go on down the line. I'd like to see Kevin Owens then turn on Jericho, so then we can have the full feud going forward. What I believe is going to happen is that Seth Rollins picked up the victory on Raw, and this is the thing now. Kevin Owens is being booked that badly. He's been pinfalled on Raw by Seth Rollins and actually Chris Jericho pinfalled at the same time, which does not make either of them look strong, but particularly the Universal Champion. As well as this, Kevin Owens, he's lost to Roman Reigns in a steel cage match as well. Your mid-card champion has beaten your main champion. So is that championship as important as it should be? Has it been given the same sort of legacy feeling about it? Even though it's so new, it should feel more important than what it is. So far, I mean, Owens was handed it, but it was kind of really cool at the time when it was done, and it's not really felt that special since. Anyway, I'm going on a little bit, so I'm going to give my prediction of what I think is going to happen. I think Kevin Owens is going to win this match in some form or fashion. Jericho probably is going to help, but I think there will be a mix-up somewhere which will add to a little bit the chemistry going forward. I think all three of these men are going to then seem to have to coexist when it comes to Survivor Series 5-on-5. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think there will be 3 of the 5. I think Roman Reigns and Rusev will fill up the other 2 spots. I think that's going to be the 5. If there was a dark horse to go into that Survivor Series team, probably Braun Strowman, but I think that is what's going to happen. I believe Seth Rollins should win, and we should then get a quick progression going forward, but I think that actually we're not going to get progression on this particular feud, and I think that Kevin Owens will win, and we'll see exactly the same thing for the next 4 weeks all the way to Survivor Series. Last but certainly not least is the Raw Women's Championship, Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. Of course, this is in Sasha Banks' hometown. I believe this will be the main event of the evening. It should be the main event of the evening. It's only one title that can perhaps be more important than a Universal Championship or a WWE Championship, is the Women's Championship, and that's because of the fact it's the same thing but in the women's division. Women's wrestling has taken a big step forward. It seems more important than what it has been ever previously, and I think that these women deserve the main event spot on this particular occasion. It's been teased out that it could happen. I think it should happen on this particular one because it's the feud with the most to gain and the most action in Hell in a Cell match. It's the first time ever that women are in there. Will the match live up to the hype? I'm not so sure, possibly not, but I think they will do one big spot somewhere, particularly if it's the main event. They will put something special in this match somewhere. Of course, Charlotte now is going to go as Charlotte Flair in the future as well. I should mention this. They want to have her with the surname of Ric Flair, and I think this makes good sense, really. For the casual viewer, I mean, the hardcore fans like ourselves that go online and stuff like this, we know, of course, Charlotte is the daughter of Ric Flair. For the casual viewer, of course, it's nice to have that name drop in there and know that it's Charlotte Flair, and then perhaps people will be more invested in her, even if I don't see why they wouldn't be already. She's kind of been a real solid part of the Monday Night Raw brand at the moment, and her and Sasha Banks, the feud has been pretty good. I've enjoyed it, and I think Sasha Banks is going to walk away with the victory, and it'd be very interesting to see where both go from here. But that's the preview and predictions anyway then for WWE Hell in a Cell. If there's any more breaking news between now and then, I'll bring it to you on this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. You've been watching Steve Chats Wrestling, #SCW, the wrestling channel, here on youtube.com. Take care.